The Texas highway system. It used to be one of the things that Texans pointed to with pride when you asked them what makes our state special. But it seems there's not much to brag about these days as our aging highway system becomes more crowded and less safe. And the outlook for the coming years? Well, if things don't change, Texans are in for a rough road ahead. It now appears that in 2012, funding for new construction and maintenance projects could drop to the lowest level in 15 years, back to the level of 1997, a time when there were 5 million fewer people in Texas. Here are the facts. Our highway system simply hasn't kept pace with the state's population, economic growth, and transportation needs. Over the past 2 decades, Texas has been the fastest growing state in the nation. Since 1990, our population has grown by 46%. The number of registered vehicles has increased by 52%, but the capacity of our highway system has only grown a bit more than 6%. In addition, our roads and bridges are deteriorating faster than we can fix or replace them. At current funding, Texas pavement conditions will decline to unacceptable levels in the near future. And 1 out of every 7 bridges in the state has significant deterioration or does not meet standards. Drivers pay a high cost for bad roads. A recent study found that insufficient roads cost Texas drivers $19 billion a year due to congestion delays, vehicle operating costs, and traffic accidents. Statewide, delays on overcrowded highways result in the waste of more than 1 million gallons of fuel every day. And poorly maintained roads cost Texas motorists, on average, $343 a year in unnecessary vehicle repairs. And on our rural roads, the traffic fatality rate is more than double the fatality rate on all other roads in the state. So why can't the state keep up with our transportation needs? The main funding sources for our highways are the state gasoline tax and vehicle registration fee. The federal government also returns a portion of the federal gas tax paid by Texans. Well, since 1991, the state's Highway Trust Fund has received 15 cents from each gallon of gasoline sold. But since 1991, the cost of highway maintenance and construction has nearly doubled. So 15 cents in 1991 buys less than 8 cents in road work today. In addition to rising costs, there's another trend that could add to the highway funding crisis. Drivers are buying less fuel. With the economic recession and more fuel-efficient vehicles, the amount of fuel tax money going into the highway fund in 2009 actually declined for the first time in history. Here's another problem. Not all of the money in the state's Highway Trust Fund gets spent on highways. Over the past 25 years, nearly $13 billion has been diverted from the Highway Trust Fund to pay for other state government operations. As bad as the current situation is, the outlook for Texas drivers in the years ahead is even worse. Unless positive steps are taken during the next session of the Texas legislature, we face a full-blown crisis in state highway funding. If we stay on our current course, then beginning in September 2011, the Texas Department of Transportation will only have enough money to maintain the current system. The only way to fund new construction or adding lanes to address congestion will be to sacrifice maintenance of our existing roads. The cost of doing nothing will be highways that are more crowded and less safe. Overcrowded, poorly maintained roads will also hurt our state's economic development. If we stay on our current course, it's projected that job growth in our state will be reduced by 43,000 jobs in the coming 5 years. Though the vast majority of Texans live and drive in the urban areas, rural Texas is a vital part of our economy because rural roads deliver our food, clothing, and energy every day. On rural roads, the critical issue is safety. 46% of traffic deaths occur on rural, non-interstate roads that carry only 23% of the state's vehicle traffic. On our current course, there will be no funding in the years ahead for highway improvements to reduce accidents and traffic deaths on rural roads. The road ahead doesn't have to be this rough for Texas drivers. There are 3 things that the state of Texas can do to avoid an immediate crisis. First, finish the promised highway bond program. In 2007, Texas voters, by a 63% majority, told the legislature to use $5 billion in general obligation bonds for highways. Last session, the legislature approved $3 billion, and next year they need to move ahead with the final $2 billion for highways. Second, the legislature should reduce the diversion of money from the highway fund for other uses. 2 years ago, legislators made significant progress on protecting the highway fund, but still about $700 million a year is being diverted from highways to other parts of the state budget. Finally, we have to find a better way of servicing highway bond debt instead of borrowing against future highway revenue. About 10% of the Department of Transportation budget now goes toward debt and interest payments. These steps won't solve all our transportation needs for the coming years, but they will keep our problems from getting a lot worse. And the cost of doing nothing is far too high. The next session of the Texas legislature starts in January. Lawmakers will face a state budget shortfall that some estimate to be as high as $18 billion. The Department of Transportation has already cut the number of its employees by more than 2,000 in recent years in response to requests from legislative leaders. Legislators should carefully consider the harmful impacts of further cuts. If you're concerned about the condition of Texas highways, if you think good roads are important to our state's future, you need to let your state senator and your state representative know about it. If you and many other Texans speak up now, we can avoid some of those rough roads ahead.